So things are coming along nicely. We've got our top bar up and running, and that fits nicely with our menu bar as well. We've got our two shades and all our menu links are set up beautifully. So in this, the third video of the BBC News clone, we're going to be recreating essentially this box here, the left part with technology at the top, and then bottom right we've got this big image. So let's start as always at the top left and work our way down. So this technology with the red underline isn't actually a link, which is slightly odd, but ours is not to reason why, ours is to recreate. So let's get things moving. We're out of the menu bar 2 container div now, so we're going to need a clear. So let's set that up. There we go. And then we'll have an ID of, we'll call it main article, because that's what it seems to be. So we definitely want to set a width for this main article, and we want it to float left, because we're going to have another section on the right there which is going to float right. But the width of the whole section again is the same as the whole page. So let's actually create a container which once again is 1000 pixels wide and centered. So let's have a div. I'll call it page container because it would actually contain the whole page if we were going to write the whole thing. So page container is same as what we've seen before, which is to say it's 1000 pixels wide and it's got a margin 0 at top and bottom and auto left and right, so nice and centered. Okay, and then the main article part is going to go on the left. We'll sort out the floating and everything else a bit later on, but we'll start with an H2. We've already used H1, so we'll have H2, and that will be our technology. So let's just have a quick look and see how that looks. Okay, fine, definitely a little bit out of position there, but that can be easily changed. So H2, there's only one of them, so we don't need to give it a particular class. We want it to be definitely not bold, a bit smaller, and then red underlined. So we'll have font weight normal, margin top, let's try 40 pixels, and let's try a font size of 20 pixels. See how that looks. Okay, pretty good. So that's aligned right to the left, which is what we want. Yep, we want it aligned with the news. Now we want to achieve this red underline here, but I think it's not actually an underline. It looks more to me like a border. So I'm going to grab the color first off, which I think is actually the same color as we've used before, that dark red. And then it looks quite thick, so maybe 4 pixels. Let's try border bottom 4px solid, whoops, not quite red, but that color there with a hash in front of it. Let's take a look. All right, so that's pretty good. I think it's maybe a little bit too thick. Let's try 2 pixels. Okay, that looks a lot better. And let's set the width then of the H2. So that it's about the right size. All right, nearly there. Okay. There we go. Great. So now we've got our technology. Let's have our, this is going to be our H3. link, and this is going to be our title. So it's H3, it's a link. We don't care where it goes, and there's the content. So let's have a little look how it seems. Okay, I quite like the spacing, that's about right. We need definitely different colors, but it's roughly in the right place. I think we need it to be a little bit larger as well. So let's take out H3A, because we're styling a link within H3, and we definitely want the color to be black. We want the font size to be around, let's try 20 pixels, see how that looks. I think we could go a bit bigger than that. Okay, I like that. I think that's about right. And we want to get rid of that underline. So text decoration, none. Okay. Excellent. And we also want to make sure that it goes to that blue on the hover. So let's get the right color. Difficult to do at that width. Come on, it's definitely not behaving today, but maybe I can persuade it. No, it's not happy about that. Okay, let's see if I can use the inspector. So right click or control click, command click, sorry, and inspect. And then it might give us the hover color if we're lucky. There we go. I think that's it there. So let's copy that. It's called faux block link hover, presumably. So that looks promising. Okay, so we're going to style that using H3A and then hover. And we want it to be the same as above, but with that particular color. Wonderful. Okay, storming along. All right, now we've got this part down the left. So I think we can use a nice paragraph for that. I want to try and copy it without clicking on the link. Okay, I can't do that, so I'm going to inspect it and copy it from the code. So I think it's here in buzzard body, buzzard summary. There we go. I'll select that. And then let's pop that in. So we're still in main article here. I think we need a div. I'll call it article summary. And then the code, let's have a look. Great. I wonder if we can get it to tell us the color. So I'm going to click on the arrow there and then find the bit that I want. See if I can extract the color. So that part there, and let's go for computed, and I think that's the color. No, not quite. There we go. Yeah, it is the same. So 5A, 5A, 5A. I think the actual size looks about right to me. So article summary. There we go. Is color. Is that. Wonderful. Now we want to change the width a little there. So let's reduce the width to, let's try 200 pixels, see how that looks. That put. We could go a little bit wider, maybe 220. Great. I think that's close enough. I think the spacing of their font is a little wider than ours, but I think we can live with that. Okay, and then underneath we've got this little timer here. I can't right click and download it, so I'll need a screen grab. So same as usual, let's go back and grab it. There it is. I'll call it clock. Copy it with Command C or Control C and paste it into images. There we go. So we just need the clock and then the date and then a line and then technology. Easy. So I'll do that as a paragraph. And then we'll have a new paragraph for our clock. Images / clock.png. And then our date, which was currently the 19th of January 2016. And I'll see what happens. I'll try writing a pipe, which should be over to the right of your keyboard near the enter button. We'll see if that looks right. I think it might do, but we might have to use a margin there if it's too narrow. And then we've got a link which says technology. Okay, that looks pretty good. Definitely need a bit of styling there. But we can do that without any new classes, I think. So this is all within article summary. So we can have article summary and then image. There's only one of those, and that's the clock. So let's change the height to, let's try 15 pixels. Great. I think that's just about right. And I want to move it down slightly. It's a little bit high up. So let's use a relative position. And top. Not much. Let's try 3 pixels. Up, too much. 2 pixels. Great. Okay, perfect. Now, of course, we have a problem because our width was too narrow. So let's increase the width of article summary a little bit so that it can bring in the bottom part as well. That's great. Okay, and then let's style our link. So what color do we want it to be first off? It's the same red as the other red, I think, and then on hover it goes the same blue, by the looks of it, as the header up there. So let's take off the underline first. So text decoration, none. And then color, let's find that red. It was the same as the bottom border on the H2, so that number should do it. Let's have a look. Wonderful. And then we just need to change the hover, which is actually going to be the same as that. But instead of H3, we want article summary A. Hover. So now when we hover, it goes blue. Brilliant. I don't quite like my hyphen though. I don't think it looks as good as that does. So it's going to be slightly trickier than just putting in a pipe. But not to worry. Let's make it a left border on the technology link. So border left is definitely 1 pixel. Solid. And I think it's the same grey as the grey up here. So let's scroll up and find that. That was our 6 C's. So pop that in there. Have a look. Okay, so yeah, that looks a lot better. But we need to add in a little bit of padding. Let's try 10px. Okay, yeah, that looks right, but it's now too big. Let's see if it's still too big after we've done that. Okay, it's not, but we now need to add padding to that bit there. So let's put a span with an ID of date. And that just means that we can put a little bit of padding to the right of it so that the border there isn't flush with the 2016. So our date, we want padding right. Let's have the same as what we had for the technology link, 10px. Okay, I think that looks great, but we do now need to make our article summary div a little wider. Beautiful. Okay, I'm very happy with all of that. Now all we need to add for this part is the image here. So I'm going to control click or right click, and I can't even do it there. Nope, so the image is in the CSS somewhere. We could figure it out, but it's probably easier, or at least quicker, to just screenshot it. Remember, if you can't do that for any reason, then just grab it from the download in the next video. Okay, there it is. I'll call it main article image. And then we'll copy that straight into our images folder. Lovely. Get rid of that. So this is going to be to the right of this section here. So we're going to want to float all of that left. So let's make that happen. I think what we'll do is underneath technology, because technology goes all the way across, so we'll create a new div to contain the article there. Then that's the bit that can float left for us. So we'll leave technology as is, and then we'll have a div with an ID of article container. Then that can go there, and we'll indent everything inside that. Lovely. So article container needs to have a certain width, and it needs to float left as well, and so does article summary. So let's just make that happen. So article summary already has a fixed width, so let's make it float left. And then article container, we want that to float left, and we want a fixed width. Let's go for maybe 600 pixels. It's going to be a bit more than half. Okay, just make sure we haven't ruined anything too much there. Yep, that looks fine. Got a bit more spacing than we had before, but that might actually work out better. Let's put everything else in and see. So then to the right of article summary, we're going to have the image. That's all we have here, so let's just put it straight in. Main article image, there it is. And let's just see how it looks without any styling at all. Whee! A little bit too big. So I'll give it an ID of main article image. And then let's edit it up here. So the main thing we need to do is reduce the width. Let's try 300 pixels. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, I'm happy with that. I think it's a bit bigger in real life. So let's go for 400 pixels. Okay, that's now too big for the container, but that's all right. We can make the container a bit wider. Okay, I think that looks good. Maybe not exactly the same size, but close enough. I'd like to see a little bit more gap between the image and the text down there. So let's give it a little margin left of maybe 20 pixels. Okay. You might have guessed that was going to happen. Let's give that another 20 pixels. Great. So that looks pretty awesome to me. The only thing I want to add are these two links down here, a little line there, and then our border to the right there. Okay, so let's start our way down here. So that one is actually quite easy to put in. We can use a horizontal rule, and we'll do this after the technology link. So here, so horizontal rule, and I think we should give it an ID. I'll call it article HR. So the main thing we need to change is the color and the width. So the color is going to be the same as this red in technology, which I believe was that code there. And then let's go for a width of 50 pixels. See how that looks. Excellent. Couple of minor issues there. It's centered rather than left aligned, and it's not actually red. So let's have a look and see if we can fix those. Let's look at how we might align an HR first off. Okay, so we can add in a line equals left into the HR itself. Let's try that out. Okay, that solved that problem. And let's see if we can see what's wrong. Changing the color of an HR element. Yep, so setting the color as we've had doesn't work. Okay, so I think we need to use border color instead of color for the HR. So let's set it as border top, as they've done there. So 1px solid, and then that. Excellent. So now it looks a lot like the one. If we get it aligned nicely in the real thing. Wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to copy those two links. So those links are pretty similar to the technology link, but they're black rather than red. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's pop them in here. So a href is empty again. Close A. I think we'll put them in separate paragraphs as well. And then let's just copy and paste that for the second link too. Okay, fine, but they're inheriting those styles as well. I think because this is a more unique link than this one, we should actually give this an ID. Even though we didn't need to before. So ID equals, let's call it a topic link, because it seems to be linking to technology, which is the topic that we're looking at, and then we want to put all of this into topic link. There we go. So that now works fine. We just need to style these. So I think we'll give them a class of their own as well. I'll just call them article link. There we go. And we don't need a lot of styling for them, but we need to set the color to black. And we need to set the text decoration to none. We've already got the right coloring on the hover. Brilliant. So I think that's close enough. We now just need to add the border on the right there, which is our classic 1px solid grey. We're familiar with that by now. And we're going to add that to the article container. So border right is going to 1px solid, and can we find the right color? It's the topic link. There it is. Oh no, the border left link color. There we go. So article container 1px solid, and then that color. Okay, looks very good, but of course it needs to be spread out a little bit. So let's add a bit of padding. Try 20 pixels. Wonderful. There we go. So we're pretty darn close now. We've got our left main block added. So all that remains is to add our watch listen section down here on the right. And that shouldn't be too tricky at all. Fingers crossed. We'll do that in the next video. See you there.